Let's spawn a crossbones. Oh my god, the lag. It is lagging every time it fires. Yikes. Goodbye, crossbones. Alright, nice knowing you. I want to make the strongest particle cannon in From the Depths. A particle cannon that's so ridiculously overpowered that everything in this game just completely crumbles to dust and it makes every other weapon look stupid. I have a little setup here to showcase what I have planned. This is known as a lens switcher. I can use this nifty little contraption to switch out the lens that I'm using for my particle cannon. One thing I've noticed is that if you look at the charge time, this is 30 seconds. After we fire it, we swap out to a new lens, and we can immediately shoot again. Now, what if I took this and scaled it up to a ridiculous degree? Make a massive, maximum length particle cannon, and then have 16 lenses take turns swapping in and out so that we're firing every 2 seconds. Completely destroying every single thing in this game because there are no counters to particle cannons. No amount of shields or anything should help you defend against this. Here's kind of what I had in mind. I'm going to have a cannon that's 1,000 meters long. It'll have a lens in the middle that fires. And then surrounding the lens, I'm going to have these revolvers that will spin 4 lenses into the middle every single time we fire. And I'll have 16 total lenses swapping out every 2 or so seconds and just completely destroying every single thing in this game. So these guys will rotate around. And this is what I'm going to try and build in-game. The first thing I'll need is a 1,000 length particle cannon. I'm kind of lazy, so I'll just do it the laziest way I know how. Let's see. See if I just take a bunch of tubes and then I spiral around the middle. This is how I can get a Tetris going for particle cannons. No, I actually don't know how long to keep going, so I'll just do a big square. Alright, now I got a roughly square looking shape. I'll put my so I'm going to need a bit of space, so I'll put this kind of high up. And then we'll just use scatter lens since I want the shots to split up, do a lot of damage over a lot of places. Alright, let's see how long this is. 25 meters. Alright, well, time to snake this around. I'll see you when I'm complete. Alright, now I just finished the 1,000 length. I'll just add some metal around it so that things are connected and they're not falling off. There we go. Good enough. Let's see. Why is it unsafe? Did I not cap this thing off? Okay, maybe I need to make this a little bit shorter. There we go, now it's perfectly safe. This game won't let you go longer than 1,000 meters, so that's why we saw that message. Now, one thing I need to do is I need to move this lens out so that these separators will work correctly. If I put it back here and I try and use a separator, not only will it separate this lens, it will also try and separate all of these other blocks in front of it. So I'll move this out. And then we got to redo our pipes a little bit here. Okay, we added 6 more meters. That means we need to remove 6 meters from the inside. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, there we go. Perfect. Okay, I'll move this back. So we'll have an attachment point right here. The way this works is, let's see, we'll do attach it in the front. When we hit separate, I'll separate that off and then connect it to our revolving piece down here or to the sides or wherever it is. All right, I'll put the lens back and I'll put the attachment point back. Now let's see. I'll have an attachment point below here. This attachment point will connect to a separator that's on a spin block below it, and then we can use it to spin around. So we'll have to put a spin block. Let's see. Think like that. Have a separator. And then we'll put separators and attachment points on all 4 sides. We want to have 4 lenses. And we'll need an attachment point on top because after you rotate this, for example like this, you need an attachment point on top to connect to the separator on the main turret. So we'll put it like here on every single one. Also, this is spinning way too slowly. I'm going to turn up the spin rate, set this so that it spins faster. There we go. Now it should spin pretty fast. Alright, so my idea is we're going to separate from the main gun, attach it to this separator here. Then we're going to rotate 90 degrees and then detach the gun from the spin block and then attach it up here to the main turret. And we're going to cycle through all 4 of these. So 90, 180, negative 180, negative 90, and then 0. And then we'll have 4 of these that have 4 lenses each. So we have 16 lenses total. That will let us shoot every 2 seconds if we build this correctly. Now I'm going to add a new AI and a new breadboard so that we can work on this without messing anything else up. So you get rid of this thing. Because there's 16 lenses, I'm going to have to build kind of like a state machine that keeps track of all 16 states. I'll need something to keep track of what state we're on, so let's see. I'm going to have a one-shot that resets, let's say, every 2 seconds. That way we can use this to trigger the change of state, and we can limit how fast the switching happens. And then I can have a complex control. I can map it to the Q key. So every time the Q propulsion is pressed, it will trigger this one shot, and then it resets every 2 seconds so that we are not reloading too fast. Alright, let's see. If we get input A, Let's see, we'll do something if we get it. Otherwise, we'll just output the current state. Let's see, what do we want to do here? If we get that, we'll check if the output is less than, let's see, there's going to be 16 states, and I want to start counting on 0. So if it's less than 16, output 1 plus 1. So add 1 to the current output. Otherwise, I'll have it output 0 and restart the counter. Alright, let's see if that works. I'll add a printer here. Oh, I'll get rid of this for now. That's kind of annoying. 2. Actually, I might want this to slow it down a bit. 13, 14, 15. Hopefully it goes back to 0. 16. Okay, I gotta make this less than 15. I only want 16 states for the machine. Alright, we'll name this current state so that we know where we're at. And now we have to build in the logic to separate and revolve the lenses. Alright, so first thing I need to do is I need to start naming these so I know which blocks are which. So this primary separator, I'll just call it the primary. And then these other separators, we'll just give them a number. 1, 2, actually, I should probably start it at 0 so I'm not confused. 1, 2, 3. I think I'll build the other spin blocks now, just so I have it in place, and get everything named correctly. Alright, I added the other spin blocks and then named everything so that we can start working on the breadboard. One thing I did forget to do, I should probably name these spin blocks. So this will be bottom. This one will be the right one. This one will be the left. And this one will be the top one. I think the first thing I'll do is make it so that depending on what state we're in the state machine, these spin blocks should rotate accordingly. So if we're on state 0, we should have this guy connected like this. And then on state 1, it's going to rotate 90 degrees, and then this guy will connect in, and then so on, so on. And then when this spin block is completely exhausted, what I'm going to do is leave it at kind of an angle so that it's not interfering with the lens in the middle until it gets back to its turn. I'll need a generic block setter for every single spin block. And then we'll do angle control. 3, 4. This one will be the bottom, the right, the top, and the left. Actually, did I do that in order? Okay, we do the left, and then the right, and then on top. Actually, I think it'll be a lot nicer if I made it go, let's see, how do these go? We went clockwise, so we'll start here, and then we'll start using these, and these. So I'm going to quickly rename all of these real quick. Alright, now we are going in a clockwise pattern, so that it's all nice and neat. So we're going to start with the bottom. And then we want to go to the one on the right. and then the one on top, and the one on the left, and then back to the bottom. Alright, now we'll need to make a bunch of if statements to get that to work. So on the bottom, if our state is less than 4, so 0, 1, 2, 3, then we'll set the angle. Otherwise, we will set it to, let's do minus 15. Actually, minus 20 degrees. Okay, I actually need to write this down in a comment. I'm getting a bit lost here. So if it's 0, then we leave it at 0 degrees. If it's 1, then we need to rotate it 90. If it's 2, we'll have it at 180. If it's 3, then we'll have to set it to negative 90. Let's see, how can I put that in a condition? Let's see, if A is less than 2, then it's going to be 90 times A. Otherwise, it'll be 3, and then we'll do negative 90. Now, this is incredibly jank. I'm sure there's some better ways to do this, but let's see if this works. I'm going to reduce the reset time on this. It's bothering me a bit, so we can test this out more quickly. Okay, so we're at state 7, so it's at 20 degrees. So let's just go through all of them. 2, 3, 4. We should go to 15, and then we should go on 0, 90, 1. Huh, what? Okay, here's the problem. It should be less than 3. And then negative 90, and then we'll go negative 20 for anything else. Alright, let's cycle all the way around and test it. Okay, we're at negative 20 since we have nothing. So state 0, 1, 2, 3. Alright, and then everything else should be negative 20. Alright, perfect. Now we just have to do the same for every single other spin block. Let's see, so if it's 4, 5, 6, 7, how are we going to do this? No, A is more than 3, and A is less than 8. So first we check if we're within our turn. If not, then we'll do negative 20. Otherwise, let's see, I think I can do the same thing as above. I just need to subtract from A. If A is less than 3, so instead of just A, we'll do A minus 4. Then it's going to be 90 times A minus 4. Otherwise, we do 90. I'm going to put this whole thing in a parentheses. It's a bit of a mess here. Alright, let's try and do the rest before we test it. Alright, let's connect these up and pray that it works. Alright, so we're on state 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Uh-oh, why aren't you working? Nine, 10, 11. Oh, we didn't connect this up. Alright, it works. Look at it. It's so mesmerizing, isn't it? Alright, next we need to work on the logic that connects and disconnects the lenses. This is going to be the tough part. So every time we go to a new state, there's a couple things we need to happen. So 1, we need to separate the lens on the main gun. And then 2, connect the lens that we separated to the spin block. 3, rotate spin block into position. 4, disconnect lens from spin block. And then 5, connect lens to main gun. Every single time we'll need to do these 5 things in under 2 seconds, which should be plenty of time. I think the other gun, it has more to rotate, and it's able to do this in like 1.5 seconds. So 2 seconds should be plenty of time. So in order to separate the lens on the main gun, we'll grab a generic block setter, set it to separators, and then we want the primary separator. Okay, separating's easy enough. As soon as we get the signal, we tell it separate. Now we need to connect the lens that we separated to the spin block. So we need a generic block setter. Also, we need to set this to separate now. Let's see, I'll need a delay pulse. I'll add a small delay, like 5/100th of a second. Now we just need to use generic block setter, separator, and then reattach now. We need to figure out which separator we need to attach it to based off the current state. We'll need to add a small delay before separating, like 0.01, just so we're separating on a separate tick, so to say, so that all the stuff down here is performed after this state machine guy is updated. So we have a very small delay before we separate, and then we need to figure out which separator it needs to attach to. Okay, easy enough. We need to reattach to the separator that's the same number as the current state. I'm going to borrow this number and bring it down here so that it's a little bit neater. Let's just move everything a bit. It's a little less cramped. Okay, we'll put this here. That will be our current state. I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to have a big column of all the separators. Oh no. Okay, this was what I was afraid of. So, if I filter by the block name 0, then it will pick up 0. It will also pick up 10. Oh man, that's not going to work. Oh, I'm going to have to go through and rename them something that's unique. Okay, well, we're going to have to do this the hard way. Alright, I just realized I have to name them something unique, so numbers aren't going to work if they go over 10 because they start sharing digits. So I have to use the alphabet for this. So this will be A, this will be B, C, D. Alright, I just went through and renamed them using alphabetical letters so that they're all unique. Alright, I'm going to make a quick table so I don't confuse myself. Alright, we have a little nifty table now that I can use to reference whenever I need to check what state we're on. States. We'll need a separator, reattach now, for every single state. So wait, why is 5 of them? Is it because I named this one primary? Alright, I'm gonna have to name this Z. Also, I should probably get rid of this other gun. This is probably messing some things up. Okay, we'll just change this so that the main separator is now Z. We'll get rid of this for now. So A, B. Alright, so there's exactly one for each one. Okay, I just added a generic block setter for every single one. I'll organize this a bit later. Now I need to get my math evaluator to handle each one. I think the way I'm going to do it is I'll have 4 outputs, and each one will just check if our current index is what we're expecting. Let's see, the first one we'll do A equals 0, A equals 1, A equals 2, A equals 3, and then we'll set this to the trigger pulse so that it only allows the inputs to affect it if we're on the correct index. Alright, we'll just connect this up here, and then I'll organize this a little bit better. Alright, I just reorganized this a bit so that it's more readable. So we have the current state that's going to get transferred into these math evaluators that checks which state we're on, and then the one that matches the current state. Oh, I need to fix this. The one that matches the current state, so 15 for example, it'll send a 1 to the trigger pulse, which allows it to activate from the command to connect the lens. Alright, I'm going to now connect this up. Alright, I just connected these to the step 2, which is reconnecting the lens to the spin block. Okay, so we need to work on step 3, which is to rotate the spin blocks into position. Alright, so we have a bit of a problem. We have some logic up here that already sets the angle. So we'll have to use a trigger pulse to prevent them from rotating until we're ready. Let's see, I'll add another delay. Let's see, the delay on this is 500th of a second. We'll do just 0.1. Alright, I'm going to move all of this to the bottom so we have a lot less spaghetti to look at. Alright, I just moved this to the bottom. Now we'll need to have these trigger pulsed so that we only rotate when we're ready. I think it's as simple as just connecting this up like this. If not, then we're going to have to go back and deal with it later. Okay, the next step is we need to disconnect the lens from the spin block. We'll need to set a delay long enough that these spin blocks have time to rotate 45 degrees. So the last delay was 0.1 second. I think if we wait a whole second, that should be more than enough time. Then we'll connect this down here. Alright, so similar to step 2 here, we're going to have to figure out which separator we need to disconnect. So I'm going to have to basically do the same thing. Alright, well, I'll see you in a bit once I get that done. Alright, I just finished this array of setters. So what this will do is, based off what state we're in, it will separate the correct separator when this delay is over. Actually, hang on. Something's not right here. It can't be this simple. So I think I have this off by 1. Yeah, I have it off by 1. Okay, so this actually needs to be 1, and then everything else needs to be shifted. Yeah, I knew something was off. Like, there's no way it's that simple. It usually never is. 14, 15, and then if it's 0, we disconnect from the main gun. We reattach it to Mr. 15 here. We rotate. Then we separate it from the first one, which is A, and then we connect it to the main gun. Okay, now it makes sense. Now let's move on to step 5, which is connecting the lens to the main gun. Right, I'm going to copy this delay. How much delay did we use earlier? Okay, so we separated immediately. I'm actually going to bump this up to 1. And then we'll bump this up to 0.2. I just want to make sure there's enough time so that things don't bug out. Okay, so after we rotate, we'll give it 1 whole second to rotate. And then after that, we disconnect. And then I would say 0.1 seconds after disconnecting is when we will connect it to the main gun again. So we'll grab this. And then we'll grab this here. And instead of separating now, we tell it reattach now. Alright, I'm just going to save and then test and see how this goes. This is probably going to be a disaster, but we'll see. Actually, before we test it, I need to set this one shot so that there's a 2-second delay so I don't accidentally trigger the swap too fast. Alright, this is going to be the first test run of the revolving mechanism. There's no way this is going to work the first time, so I'm expecting something bad to happen. First, we're going to disconnect this, and then reconnect it to here, and then spin it, and then disconnect it from the spin block, and then reconnect it to the main gun. So, fingers crossed. Of course. Of course it doesn't work. Maybe the next one works? Oh man, I love FTD, man. And this one's now on the wrong way too. Is a single one of you gonna connect? Hello? Wow. Alright. What a absolute disaster. Okay, what if we just disable this for now, and we try and manually do this and slow down the game time so we can figure out what's going on. So I'm gonna pause it. I'll check this attachment. So this is attached in the front. If we separate it, the game's paused. This should be completely separated from the cannon. Now if we go into this one, oh no, I see what's going on now. Here, if I get rid of this, okay, so that block we disconnected, there was an attachment point. There wasn't supposed to be an attachment point there. So let's see if we hit attach. Okay, that actually connects. Alright, let's fix that real quick and see if it works now. Okay. Well, we're making progress. Now we gotta figure out why this is falling off. What if we did a pulse extender? Alright, I have a pulse extender. This should extend the pulse to half a second and continuously send that attach now command for half a second. Oh, I forgot to do the first output condition. So if output 2 is more than 0, then we want to output 1, otherwise output 0. Alright, let's try the pulse extender method up here when we first connect. Alright, I just added the same pulse extender here so that it spams the reconnect now command. Let's see if it works better. Okay, that works better. But now this is flipping out. Which way is this considered up? Wait, is that the front? Yeah, that is the front. Can you attach now? Not enough free space. Alright, I'm gonna go figure out what's going on. Alright, I think I may have figured out what's going on. So, I think it has to do with the rotation of this attachment block. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So both of these guns are switching fine. But if I take this block, if I just rotate it left to right 90 degrees like this, even though it looks the same, it's not going to work the same. So notice how the forward direction and the up direction, it's different on this. This one says down and forward. This one says right and forward. Well, if I rotate it, you're going to see, like, it's going to mess this one up because I rotated it. These attachment blocks actually have a rotation in them. And if you look at them very carefully, you can actually see it. See? I think an even easier way to tell is I'm going to add 4 of them in each of the 4 rotation. So rotate it, rotate it, rotate it. Now if I hit R to copy the block and then Control-Shift-X to add it as a decoration, if I increase the left or right scaling, you're going to start to see the difference. So this one, it goes up and down when I increase the left or right the scaling. Whereas this one went left to right. And same with these other ones. So I think I need to rotate it so that it correctly aligns with the separator. Otherwise it just doesn't work. And that's going to be a nightmare because, like, how are you supposed to look at this and tell if it's rotated correctly? Like, just look at this. The only way you can tell is, like, you can see the tiny little squares, like, just barely move when you rotate. So I need to come up with some way to make sure that it's properly rotated. Also, I don't even know if the separator is right, because if you look at this, the separator has, you know, of course, can be rotated, and there's no way to tell, like, which way it is. Like, this is just garbage. Alright, I'm gonna go and try and fix all the different rotations and see if I was right with my theory. Alright, I think my little theory about the rotation was correct. So I was able to rotate the bottom 4 attachment points around, and then I got it to work for the first 4, so if you just take a look. So this is 1, and then it actually works and connects 2, 3, 4, and then the rest of them I haven't fixed yet, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so I've just gone through and spent an eternity rotating these attachment points and trying to get them to all, like, face the correct way and orient them, and then set these forwards and up directions so that they're correct. After who knows how long of doing that, I got the thing to finally work. You get to see the majesty of this whole contraption right here. So I'm just going to cycle through all the guns. So 2, 3. It's so beautiful when it works. It just works. And then back to 0. Alright, now that we got the mechanism to work, we just need to figure out how we are going to trigger the revolving. I think the easiest way to do that is, no, we'll grab a generic block getter, and then we'll grab scatter lens. Is there some kind of, yeah, there's a firing event. Okay, I think if there's no firing event, it'll be 0. But as soon as any of them fire, one of them will be 1, which we can use to trigger this. And, oh, alright, this is an integer. We're going to have to convert that to a number. I hate it when the game does this. Alright, there we go. That should be a number. Now, I gotta set the charge time of all of these as well. Fastest way to do that is... Come on, where are you? Scatter lens. Reload time. Want all of you 30 seconds. Let's see. I want all of you maximum overclock. And then all of you, I want you to do impact. Alright, that should set every single lens to as strong as possible. We'll keep the focus 50 because I want the 4 beams to scatter out a bit. Alright, let's see if it works. Fire. Oh, rotated. Okay, maybe this logic can be a little bit better. It feels a little jank right now. Here, let me add a local weapon controller. Put this God mode. We'll spawn. It will attach this to channel 3. We'll have this be channel 3. Alright, let's just spawn something in the distance. Alright, let's try and figure out what's wrong with our logic here. Also turn off you firing. That's annoying. Fire, we swap, and then we fire. Okay, so we fire so fast that... Yeah, if we fire too fast, then it will mess up the timing. Wait, is it working now? Hold on, what? Let's reduce this a bit. How long is it taking us to do all these operations? 1.2 seconds. Alright, let's cut this down to like 1.5. Okay, well, you know what they say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Alright, so now, get rid of the enemy. Now we got another problem. We do not have nearly enough power to power this. So each of these use 320... Okay. Let's just do some math. Each one does 320,000 energy per second. That means... total... That means we need 5 million energy per second to sustain this gun. Also, how much energy are we using per shot? Okay, we're going to need at least 10 million batteries for the shot. So I'm going to go ahead and add those now. Alright, let's do the 10 million first. That seems the easiest. I'll just do a little bit extra. Okay, now the best way to get energy is using large turbines. If we spam a bunch of large turbines, hopefully that should get us enough energy. Okay, we want boiler, connector. Oh wait, controller. Okay, I think each of these will produce roughly 15,000 per second. And we have two of them on both ends. So this whole thing creates 30,000 energy per second. So what is this divided by 30,000? Oh man, we're gonna need 170 of these. Alright, well, time to start copy pasting. This is gonna have 200 total, which is absolutely overkill. But, you know, we need all that energy to fire this super weapon. Alright, let's just see how much this thing costs. Ooh, 1.6 million. Alright, well, let's test it. The whole thing's complete. We have a stupefying amount of steam turbines. Let's just see it demolish some stuff. Let's spawn a crossbones. Oh my god, the lag. It is lagging every time it fires. Yikes. Goodbye, crossbones. Alright, nice knowing you. Wow, this thing is even better than I thought. That's a whole crossbone just wiped from existence. Let's try Megalodon. Oh, that's cute. It's able to take quite a bit of punch per shot. But it doesn't matter. It will eventually just get completely dissected. Out of materials. What is this? Alright. That might explain some things. Alright, there goes the pyre. It's below 50% health. I think the impact was a little bit better. Let's try piercing, and then we'll put it up against something that hates being pierced. Let's see. Scarlet Dawn has a bunch of things that really hate being pierced. Let's try the Lanika. Oh, there it goes. This is so beautiful. All that hard work, rotating all those stupid attachment points, totally worth it. Oh, stop going after the turrets. The turrets don't do anything. Alright, let's switch to impact now that we have the side of the thing. Oh, actually it's about to just... Okay, goodbye Lanika. How long did that take? Like, a minute? Alright, what else is really strong? All vehicle type. Ooh, let's try the singularity with piercing. Man, this singularity is gonna love the piercing shot. It's probably gonna die immediately. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, good luck with your evasion, bro. This is hit scan. And there goes the singularity. That didn't take very much. Alright, let's try impact with stronghold. Wow, the lag is insane. Goodbye, stronghold. What was that? Like a minute and a half? Alright, what else can we try? The Wonder? I think the Wonder is a pretty tough ship. Oh my god, it is just coring straight through that thing. Doesn't even care about anything. there goes the entire front. And there goes the rest of the ship. Rest in peace. Alright, what else can we try? Let's try the tarpon. This thing's made of wood, so you should see a bunch of confetti with the blocks. It is just glorious. Look at all the block confetti. So, what do you evasion bros think, huh? You think you can counter this with your little evasion? Rest in peace, tarpon. Let's see, we haven't fought White Flare. Let's try the Redeemer. Right, looks like the engine's taken out. Yep, there goes most of the engines. Alright, there goes the Redeemer. Alright, I think one last faction we haven't seen. Actually, we haven't seen Grey Talon, have we? No, we've seen the Pyre. I think we haven't seen the Lightning Hood. Let's try the Impotence. I don't suspect this will do too well, since Lightning Hood ships are extremely dense and very easy just to take out vitals. It is quite heavily armored in the front though. But that's not going to matter. All it takes is a couple more shots and then your insides are shot. I bet you piercing would do pretty good against a lot of these ships, just pierce straight through them. But we don't get to see the cool block confetti from just the impact. Alright, and she's sinking. Alright, hope you liked this video. I put a lot of work into getting this to work. I suspect this is probably going to get nerfed or patched out very soon, especially if I post this video. But hey, I had my fun. Leave a comment if you want to suggest some ideas for my next video.